Let's refactor the supplier service a bit. I'll remove the console logs that we have left on the previous chapter. You have already seen the usage of build query in the previous chapters. So also I forget about adding and using build query in the retrieve method. So let's fix that. As a selector, I will only add ID in an object, and also let's fix the argument of find1 method. The next thing I want to improve is the update method in the service. So I will add new variable called update, and I will use object.assign method to assign new values to the previous supplier properties. And I will pass this update object in the save method. Also, I want to add transactions on this method, so I should use this.atomic phase function in order to do that. And it takes a callback with the manager as an argument. And instead of using this.activeManager, I should use just manager from that callback. Also, let's return a result of this transaction. Also, I should do the same with the create and delete, so I will just copy that first line and insert it in the create method. Also, let's not forget about changing the manager. The next thing you might need in your services is config module. So I will create a new property in the supplier service called config module underscore, and I will add the typing of config module from Medusa package. And what you should do is assign this config module underscore from the dependency container. And also let's not forget about adding right typings. This config module is a reference of a config that you have in the Medusa.config.js file. It is helpful when you want to return some configurations of the backend, like GVT secret, for example. As we have added the transaction to the services, we should actually use the transactions in the route handlers. In order to do that, we should resolve the manager from the dependency container. Let's also add entity manager type from type-run package as a generic. And now you can use manager.transaction function, and also you should use the supplier service with transaction function to attach a transaction manager to a method. You might have a situation when you first create something and then update it, but some error occurred in the update method. So when using a transaction, the creation method actually rollbacks and you don't have a new record in the database. I actually not using this, so I'll just return the result of create method. Also, I should do the same with the deletion and the updating of a record, so I will do the same in these both route handlers. Now, besides retrieving the supplier, I could also attach a relations of products and not only return just supplier values, but also return the products of that particular supplier. Now I want to talk about the service lifetimes in the details. So the first service lifetime is a singleton. And so every time you resolve a service that is singleton, you get the same instance. When there is lifetime scoped use, a new instance of a service is created and reused in the scope of the dependency container. And the last one is transient, which creates new instance of a service on every resolve. You can change the lifetime of a service using the static property lifetime, and also you should pass the lifetime value from the package avalix. As Medusa is a commerce engine that has commerce modules, and all of that modules have their services, the whole is you can see at the core repository of Medusa. For example, our service comes with the logic behind the authentication of a user and a customer. Card service contains the logic behind the card. And so you might have a situation when you want to overwrite or extend some existing logic of that service. I should create a new file that should be the same as the service name in the Medusa repository. In my case, it would be product service. And this service should be extended from the Medusa product service. Also, let's not forget about importing this Medusa product service. As Medusa default services have lifetime of singleton, I would change their lifetime to be scoped. Now I should add constructor method and as argument take the container and pass that container to the super Medusa product service class. And also let's not forget about default exporting the product service. If we would open the product service type definition, we would see the whole list of the methods of that service, their parameter sets, and the return types. Now I want to override the retrieve method and change the logic to be if the product is not published, then return 4004 status. That means the product is not found. If you're overriding the existing methods of a services, you should be aware that it could have negative effects, such as bugs. In our case, it would generate a bug in the admin panel, so when I go to the draft product from the product list, I would get 4004 status and I would not be able to change product. If you want to see the full services reference in the Medusa in a more friendly way, you should definitely check out the services reference from the Medusa docs.